Good evening and welcome to the Defiance City Council meeting for tonight, August 25th, 2026. Before we get underway, we have Elder Harold Steverson as our guest minister to come and open us up in prayer. Thank you for being our guest this evening.
Good evening. Good evening. I want to say that I'm thankful that you are all here. Because the last time I was arranged to come, you guys didn't show up. It was a rainy night, and it happened also to be election night. And you weren't there. I want to say I did pray for you all before I left the property. So my duty was done. And so I'd like to read some favorite verses from God's Word, I think pertaining to what we have going here tonight. And that is from 1 Timothy, written by the Apostle Paul, where he says, I exhort, therefore, that first of all, prayers, intercessions, entreaties, and giving of thanks be made for all men. And that would include women in this terminology as well. For kings in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior, to be saved and to come unto the knowledge of the truth. For there is one God and one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself a ransom for all, to be testified in due time. Let's pray. Father in heaven, I thank you for this special night, the gathering of leaders of our city and of our county. And I pray tonight that your Holy Spirit would touch hearts, touch minds, and remind us all of truth and righteousness and the fact that wickedness and evil exist as well. I pray that you would guide in the decision-making for the matters that are at hand. We pray also, Lord, for the state government leadership, that you would guide them and direct them, election coming up soon, and that your will be done. We think of President Trump this evening, his cabinet, his family, that your hand of protection, blessing, guidance, courage will be upon them as well. The affairs of our nation will seek after you and be honoring to you. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for being our guest this evening. This meeting is now called to order. Let the record show that all the members of council are present this evening. Would you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I've reviewed the index minutes for the city council meetings of August 4th and August 11th. Are there any motions to amend or correct the minutes as they're presented? Without any such motion, I will endorse them. Do we have any committee meeting requests or reports? All right. And do we have any comments from council this evening? Okay. Mayor McCann.
Came too quick, Mr. President. No, I don't really have anything, sir. Beautiful day out. It's gonna be a beautiful week. Jefferson Street's gonna get paved and all's gonna be right in the world, sir. But mark my word, we'll soon be hearing complaints about speeding on Jefferson now that it's a nice smooth surface.
I've already heard complaints about having to reroute driving because Jefferson is being retopped. But that was the point. We wanted Jefferson retopped. We're going to have to put up with this for a minute.
It's truly a gift.
Mr. Mack.
The mayor stole my thunder. All I had was Jefferson being repaved, so nothing at this time, Mr. President.
Mrs. Sarrigan.
I have a lot that I would like to go through tonight, but I do have some educational stuff to go over. Would you like me to do that now or later?
Does it pertain to the ordinances?
Yes.
Then we'll just do it when we bring up the ordinance and
Okay.
discuss it.
Nothing further.
And Ms. Sprague?
I'm glad Jefferson's getting redone. It's dirty and messy, but it'll be well worth it, so. I have a couple of things, some purchase orders. The first one is for Parks and Rec. Shoot, I should have brought my other glasses. I'll bring these back. I cannot see in these things. I'm sorry. Huh?
Do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I grabbed these from home and that one printed really small. I'm fine on this one. Just read the vendor.
New 12-inch play curbing borders for Riverside, Laddie's Grove, Deal Parks.
Yep, and then just the amount.
$21,638.31.
Yep, so that's edging for Parks and Rec, for those parks for that amount. And the other one is, it was.
Military?
Yep. We had an police officer that was out on military, and when they do, we have to cover, like we normally cover their pension. So that amount is
$2,352.96.
So while he was out the whole time, we did not pay it in, and then when he came back, we just pay in one lump sum. So sorry about that. The other purchase order is maintenance. This building, during the hail damage that we had and the wind/tornado, there was damage to the siding. So we've gotten quotes for siding, and that's gonna be around $45,000. We did see about $10,000 back out of our insurance company for those damages. The next one is Parks and Rec, Goliath Tree and Lawn Service. That's our tree contract on top of all the other trees that we've taken care of from those same storms, $20,600. And streets, DJ wanted to put in an order for salt to prepare for the winter. We got hit pretty hard last January, February, and went through quite a bit, so he's wanting to load up while the cost is down, so that's $20,000. The other thing is, as we approach starting the budget process for '27, all the division heads have turned in their budgets, so I'm working on getting those entered, working on entering the updated estimated personnel costs. And then in the next couple of weeks, we'll start our division head meetings, and then shortly after that, we'll start our meetings with you guys and start working through the '27 budget. So if you have any questions in the meantime, don't be afraid to get a hold of me here.
Okay.
That's all I have.
And we also received the payment of bills and financials for the month,
For July.
July?
Yep.
And in the absence of any objections or corrections, the payment of bills and financial reports shall stand received. Okay? All right. With that, we have 5 ordinances for consideration this evening. Should be smooth sailing, right?
First reading by caption only, an ordinance establishing a zoning tax amendment for data centers and power-generated facilities, defining their use and classifications, and declaring emergency.
Mrs. Sarrigan.
Thank you. Miss Elders, if you could move, yeah, perfect. Okay, to start out, I'm just gonna go through a little bit of the information I gathered to just bring everyone up to speed and kind of keep us all on the same page. So last Tuesday, when you had tabled and requested that things be redrafted, I went back through to see how did we get to last week. So up on the screen, I made a timeline. So on June 15th, Planning Commission had a recommendation to council to include principally permitted uses and definitions that needed to be added to the existing zoning code, to include data centers, data warehousing, and power generating facilities. So that was at their Planning Commission meeting. They went through, made recommendations to council of what they would like to see added in the code. So then at the June 23rd council meeting, that was discussed, and then ultimately a special meeting was scheduled July 28th. So then July 14th, there was a meeting. There were some questions asked by the law director at that time. So he could draft those ordinances. It was discussed that those would be then ready for that special meeting. That special meeting got changed to August 18th. So then last week was when it got pushed out again, allowing me time to redraft those. So the issue that I was redrafting was still coming from Planning Commission, asking for that definition to be added and then the permitted uses to be added. So that was kind of what I found out that I was working on for you. The second piece was the moratorium. That was requested on July 7th, and that was requested for 12-month moratorium for data storage, Bitcoin mining, cryptocurrency, and the like, to get additional studies and draft that as an emergency. So again, that's what I had been working on then at your direction from last week. So going to the next page, Miss Elders, thank you so much for doing this for me. So the next step, once I figured out what I was working on for you, then I went through the law. So I just did a real brief synopsis for you all on this page. And so in our code 116503A, it gives City Council the authority to amend the text of the zoning code, and it gives procedures on how to do that. So then 116503C, the Planning Commission may make a motion to initiate a text amendment, or City Council may initiate a text or zoning amendment by recommendation or referral to the Planning Commission. Then it goes through some of the other procedural things. You can read that on your own. Skipping 2 more pages to where there's a procedure page. So this was then what I put together as what you all need to be aware of moving forward. So for the zoning text amendment, step 1, according to our code, the Planning Commission can make a motion to initiate a text amendment, or City Council may initiate a text amendment by recommendation or referral to the Planning Commission. So for our current ordinance, for this one that's for first reading, step 1 occurred on June 15th when Planning Commission referred it to Council to add that language into the code. So that happened already on June 15th. Planning Commission said, hey, please add this into our zoning code. And so I know there were some questions last week. You know, it's just adding the definition, it's just adding the conditional use. Why isn't it adding vibration, noise, those sort of things? It's because how it's been referred to Council is just for that specific issue. So step 2, the procedure for a zoning text amendment, is once Planning Commission makes that referral for the amendment, then City Council needs to, it's shall language, so you have to hold a public hearing on the application for the amendment, and there's specific notification requirements that have to happen, and that's like, for example, being published in the newspaper. So for today, this first reading for the text amendment, my advice for you, my legal advice, is this can't be addressed today. It has to be set for public hearing. And then step 3 up here, once you have that public hearing, at the end of that hearing, you can either adopt or deny the recommendations of Planning Commission, make modifications, but then you're deciding on that legislation after that public hearing. Does anyone have questions?
So we can't do any modifications now until after this public hearing.
Sorry,
That's all right, public hearing.
correct,
we
my
can't-
recommendation.
We can't instruct our zoning commissioner to do anything beyond what they've already done until after we've had this hearing.
So, you always, okay, so.
I'm only asking because there's a lot of specifics that needs to go into the zoning for data centers.
Yes. So for this issue that Planning Commission asked you to address, the definition and the conditional use permit. Everything needs to be set for public hearing to address that. All the other concerns about like noise, vibration, all of that stuff, you, under the law, you as council can initiate a text amendment by recommendation or referring it to planning commission. So you could ask planning commission to research all of those extra amendments and then refer it back to council so that then you can address those ordinances. Those would be zoning amendments, so then those would have to go to public hearing as well.
Another 30-day requirement.
Right. Does that answer your question?
Sure. It just makes it stretch out quite a while, so.
It is. It's a process.
Yeah.
I have a
Mr.
question.
Engel.
Is there a time frame or a date that has been set for the meeting?
No.
Okay.
Mrs. Kaufman.
So my question would be, why can't we motion to ask you as the law director to incorporate all the more specific changes, revisions to the zoning amendment? Present that to us next week at council so that that can be rolled all into one comprehensive document that protects the city, gets it moving along, and has it all there for the public hearing and streamlines the process.
So you absolutely can do that. I mean, you can tell me what to do. I'm concerned I wouldn't be able to get that turnaround by next week. I did speak with Miss Warnicki, who is the zoning commissioner for the city, and she has a lot of the research done. But her and I discussed, she almost would prefer city council to initiate zoning amendments by making a referral back to planning commission. At that point, then she uses her studies to figure out what we have in our law currently, what we would want to add, and then what needs to be completed. And then what needs to be completed, then she could bring back to us. But a 1 week turnaround, I don't think that is doable. When are planning commission meetings? Are
Third
those
Monday.
third Monday? So like once a month?
And we can have special meetings necessary if we
Okay.
need to.
Okay.
Question?
Does this not
Well, just
constitute?
one moment. I was gonna see if council has any other questions, and then I'll recognize questions from the guests. Mr. Mast.
So, I'm trying to wrap my head around this so we can all get on the same page. So what we can do then with this is have the public hearing and then make recommendations back to planning to have these additional details incorporated.
We could make recommendations tonight to start that process.
Or or can we do that to have
Right.
them bring us a new?
I think I'm gonna say the cleanest way to do it, and I don't know if that's the best word for it, but what's before you is planning commission's recommendation on two issues. And so I feel like you need to finish out those two issues.
And then start a whole new ordinance.
And then start, yes, like the
Oh,
procedure separately
So
for
have
all
a
those
second-
extra issues.
Have a totally separate second ordinance for the details.
Right.
Okay.
And that would be, what you could do today, like if you're asking what can I do today, it would be initiating a request or a referral to planning commission to basically study what we need for these issues and provide a recommendation back. So then they would have their meeting, they would go through some recommendations, and then they would provide that back to you. And then we would kind of start this process over where then they would say, hey, we need this, I would draft that. You would need to have a public hearing for those and go
So that'd
from
be a
there.
second public hearing.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm just, like you said, trying to find a way that this logistically makes sense.
right,
That we can get it all done in a fairly timely manner
right.
without a lot of.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Sargent, but I believe you said that the night of that public hearing, you can also pass that legislation. A lot of times we'll wait. But didn't you say?
Right, it's, yeah, our code says council can either adopt or deny the recommendations of planning commission or adopt some modification thereof.
Why would we want to adopt this one if we're already going to modify it? I mean, we gotta have a public hearing, I get that. Is that how
Yeah,
it starts?
Can't we motion to throw this one out and present something and have you work all the revisions into it and have that be what's sent back to planning commission for the public hearing?
So, yes, you could do it that way. At the end of the day, our zoning commissioner is saying the way our code is right now, if someone makes an application for a zoning application, there's nothing for a data center in our code. So she's gotta kind of find a place to put it. So I think you wanna keep this process moving to address that issue because planning commission is telling you, hey, there's this issue, we're recommending we get something in place so that if one does submit an application, if a developer for a data center submits an application, that triggers some of the notification requirements that are in our zoning code. And the way it is right now, it's hard to say how that would fall in our table. So I think you want to keep it moving. I understand, the having two hearings.
Ms. Elders?
Just so council is aware, anytime that I put it in the paper, that legislation that you have in front of you now will be in my office. Anytime that gets changed, like say you're wanting to change it, then I can't have a public hearing until I have the correct information in my office. So if we put that off, it puts off me having the public hearing as well. And I have to go out 30 days, so just so you're aware.
All right, Mr. Engel?
Yeah, I think the way it sounds, I think probably the best route we should do is probably just let this lie and just wait until things modify and get things done that way. That's my opinion.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes, my recommendation is to go to the public hearing and follow the process. Continue where we're at, and then once that's completed, then any additions or recommendations or modifications can be sent from council to the planning commission, like you just discussed, and then if need be, we can revise it. But I also think we should continue where we're already set as well.
Ms. Kaufman?
I want to thank you for the clarity on this because you stated the way I understood it last week at the meeting that we need to get at least that definition into the zoning code to get the city's initial protection laid out so that we can add more specific regulations. I still don't understand, and I'm willing to admit that on YouTube, that why we can't make some specific revisions to be added into this text amendment tonight. We received some very specific revisions today via email, and I would like to request that that letter be read at the council meeting. I'm not sure at what point President McMaster might do that, but if he hadn't planned on it, I'd like that letter to be read from Brian Keller that was received this afternoon.
Yes, this is
Kinda
the
last
first,
minute, but
this is
I-
the first ordinance up. We're letting Ms. Sarrigan, the law director, speak. Council makes comments. We'll take comments from our guests, and then I was gonna read it because it pertains to this ordinance as well as the next.
Okay, so apologies for jumping ahead a few steps, but is it possible then that those revisions, we could revise this text amendment tonight, not accept it as is at this first reading because we have revisions, and then bring that back next week for the first reading, and we're delaying it a week?
So the way that this zoning text amendment came before you triggers something in our code. So because planning commission came to council saying, please add this in, that's why it was drafted the way it was drafted, because it only addressed those two issues. So depending on what the amendments are, it might be a better route, and again, I don't know what those would be, but it might be a better route to do that as a separate ordinance and keep it separate from this one.
Okay.
Again, not knowing exactly.
Okay. I'll see how the conversation goes tonight and see what unfolds then.
I think what you're saying, and I'm right with you as far as not being 100% clear on this. And so let's deal with something we know is not currently in the code, clearly in the code. I don't believe our code clearly states anything on heat domes, which have been brought up. If you add that, if you direct her to add that to this legislation, that's gonna push this back to planning commission.
That's correct.
That's gonna slow the process. As
Okay.
this stands right now, I agree with Mr. Hancock and a couple others that have said this, is that this starts that 30-day window for Ms. Elders to get this advertised, and you do at least pass this much, which is what?
At least
Mrs.
defines.
Sarragan's endorsing,
Yeah.
Frankie Warnke's endorsing, and planning commission's endorsing.
Okay.
So to summarize,
That
you're saying
helps.
we
That
essentially field what the planning commission has offered us.
Correct.
And then move forward from there rather
People,
than slowing it
we
up.
can pass 6 ordinances on this moving forward, and we can have public hearings if we feel like we missed something down the road. But I do believe a majority of us believe keep this on the books.
Okay, thank you,
Yep.
that helps.
Mr. Mass?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, and Mayor pretty much touched on it, but we need these definitions regardless, so it does, I think, make complete sense to just move ahead with this and get the process moving in the forward direction, so.
Any other comments from council?
Thank you.
Do we have any?
I have
Oh,
a couple more
please
things
do.
in my presentation. Is
No,
that
go
okay?
ahead, sure.
Okay, can I have you go back, Miss Elders, back to right there. So I skipped through this, but this might also clarify some of your questions. So this section here is where planning commission can make recommendations or city council can ask planning commission for recommendations. Once amendments are initiated by planning commission, this is where Mayor's point. Amendments initiated by city council have to be referred back to planning commission for review. Planning commission then reviews it, makes recommendations on that amendment through their own procedure of public hearings, and then they submit it back to council. And that's where this comes in. They advise council on the recommendation and include a statement recommending what they're recommending. So that kind of outlined a little bit more. Now can you skip back down to the procedure for the moratorium?
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you want to discuss the moratorium issue with the next ordinance?
I can do that. Let me skip one more page then. I want to cover one more thing just so council's aware before we move on.
Am I on?
Yes,
Page?
yep.
Okay.
So I just wanted to do some education on this specialized committee that occurred last week that was set up. So I wanted to give you a couple ways how that could look. So council can make recommendations about the zoning code, but they have to go to planning commission for review. We covered that, that's what's in our code. So the committee that was created last week can make recommendations, refer them to planning commission. Planning commission then would review those and maybe create their own recommendations, and then they would refer it back to council. That committee meeting is still Open Meetings Act, but the committee would make recommendations. That has to go back to planning commission regardless. They would review it and then it would come back to council as a whole.
Mr. Corbett?
From what I'm hearing tonight, we've already established quite a timeline to get through this process, that I believe that special committee in its own will just delay it farther, and I'd like to make a motion to dissolve it so we can move forward with the initial plan you put forth, so we can keep it moving, because we already know what we want. Nikki knows what we'd like. I don't think we need to have more open meetings, more redundant things going on that just delays the process farther. So I'd like to dissolve that committee. I'd make a motion.
And I'll second that motion.
So
It makes
we have a
perfect sense. It
Motion
slows
to
it down.
dissolve the committee in order to review the zoning ordinances. We have a second. Ms. Kaufman?
To dissolve the special committee that was formed last week. It's another layer that's gonna delay the process, as I understand it.
Would you like me to do roll call?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
No.
Mr. Engel?
What was this? I just want to make sure what this was.
We have a motion. Last week when we met,
Right.
Mr. Mast asked for a commission or a committee
Right.
in order to discuss the zoning ordinances. But with the eye towards streamlining and speeding the procedure up, he has asked, Mr. Corbett has asked to dissolve that committee so that it won't be a committee of 3 discussing it, reporting it to council, reporting it to the planning commission.
Everything will be done through council. So you three won't have anything to do with it?
Correct.
Yes.
Ms. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Mass?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
And Mrs. Crouch?
Yes.
Thank you for your services on the committee.
Yes.
You're welcome.
And did you have further information?
I know I talk a lot, don't I?
It's educational. We're all sort of getting up to speed. That's
Okay,
fine.
so I'm really done with my educational spiel for everyone, so I hope that was helpful, not more confusing, but I'm a visual person, so I wanted to go through that with you. So.
Thank you.
Mr. President, quite a puzzle.
Mr. Mask.
So in light of the new information in the process now that we're clear of going forward, what do we currently need to do with this legislation now? Do we need to just let this lie, or will it not be considered until we have the public hearing?
So as it is, I don't think you can do anything with it except set it for public hearing.
Okay.
So it needs table?
Nothing.
No?
No movement
No
whatsoever.
movement at all?
Okay. Before we move on, did we have any comments or questions in regards to this ordinance? Mr. Keller?
Hello, Brian Keller. Yeah, my comments are, I am okay with this ordinance being, the zoning definitions, the conditional use, I'm okay with that proceeding as long. I feel that you could continue working on another zoning amendment, or however you phrase that handles all the concerns that the residents have come up with, as well as what some of you guys have come up with. We could start working on that now. I believe, and I did research and come up with all kinds of what other cities in Ohio have done to put in zoning regulations to protect the citizens. That is readily available. It could easily be copied and use that. And then, because I think it's important that when we come to vote in November, our residents know what they're voting on. They need to know that we have zoning passed that protects all their concerns. And if we to keep delaying, getting these new zoning rules in place, which I support 100%, then they won't know what they're voting on, and they'll be voting out of fear. So it's only fair to them. And I also will say, we have a moratorium that'll be talked about soon. You could easily do a 3-month moratorium, and then that would pretty much align with the vote. And then you don't have to worry about a data center coming in here until the citizens tell us what they want us to do. And I plan on respecting what the citizens say. I assume everyone else does. I don't think a 12-month moratorium respects what their wishes are. Someone asks for a vote, we're gonna have a vote. I think that's the best way to handle a situation like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Roop,
Do I need to come to the mic, or do you want?
please do.
I don't have a real comment, just a question. I'm Rebecca Root. I'm just curious what the difference between like a formal public hearing and a meeting like this, where you get notified in the paper and you can come to a session and participate, like what's the difference? And why would this satisfy that requirement? Can you speak to that? I genuinely don't know.
It's just in our code, it outlines procedure under the 1165 that was up there, procedure for any zoning amendment. So it's something written into our law as to exactly what we need to do. So it's just in there that we need to have a public hearing, and it has different requirements for that than this just a regular meeting.
So a public hearing would have like a further notification time, or it would have to be?
Yep.
Yeah, what are the requirements?
They normally last about a minute.
The public hearings?
I think what you're, Ms. Roop, I think what
30
you're
days
asking is the
notice.
difference between that and what we're having here tonight. And if
Yeah.
I'm understanding correctly, first off, the public hearing would necessitate 30-day lead-up time to it. Plus, the text has to be available for perusal through Ms. Elder's office, so.
Right.
So there would be 30 days after the announcement that citizens could come into Ms. Elder's office and look at the documents that are going to be discussed. Yes, Mrs. Neese?
From what I'm hearing from city council, it's like, we want to get this done as fast as possible. And that's the worst way you can approach this. I've been on the computer hours and hours and hours. And what is happening is people are upset because we don't have the laws to protect us. That's the bottom line. It keeps coming over and over and over again. They don't exist because this technology is too new to catch up with it.
I hate to interrupt you, but do you have a question about the
Yeah.
ordinance?
Okay, what I
zoning?
have a question about is this, I think, well, it's not the ordinance, but I firmly believe that we need to take this and study it as much as we can.
Okay.
And also,
Do you have a we're going through our ordinances and we read them, and council has discussed the ordinance. Now is the time for question, if you have a question about the ordinance that's in front of us right now, before we do anything with it.
no.
Okay, thank you. With no one else's hand up, I had said that we were going to discuss have Mrs. Sarrigan discuss the ordinance. Questions from council, questions from our guests, and I have a letter that was sent to me that has to do with both this ordinance and the next one, so I think this would be a good time for me to read it instead of saving it to the end. It says, "Dear council members, thank you for your service to Defiance and for the care you have given the issues over the past several weeks. I have listened to concerns residents have raised about water, power, noise, infrastructure, and community impact. Those are fair questions and they deserve real answers. I am writing about the two data center ordinances on tonight's agenda, the zoning text amendment and the 12-month moratorium. I would ask council to consider a different version of each, and I want to explain why I believe that pairing is the better path. Start with the length of the moratorium. A charter amendment that would ban data centers in the city has now gathered enough signatures to appear on the ballot this November. The ultimate question, whether Defiance should allow this kind of development at all, is going directly to the voters. Because of that, a full 12-month moratorium is no longer necessary, and it creates a problem no matter how the vote turns out. If the ballot measure passes, data centers will already be prohibited by the charter, and a 12-month freeze on top of that prohibition accomplishes nothing. If the ballot measure fails, the voters will have said clearly that they want the city to remain open to responsible development, which could include a data center alongside other investments. Keeping the 12-month freeze in place after that vote would override the very decision the residents made. The more important point is zoning. The concern I keep hearing is not really about whether to pause. It is about whether the city has enforceable standards strong enough to protect the amendment as it appears on tonight's agenda. Does not answer the zoning amendment as it appears on tonight's agenda does not answer that concern. It defines a data center and classifies the use, but it does not set the actual standards. That gap is exactly what is driving the push for a long moratorium and a year-long study. Council is being asked to freeze development for 12 months in order to develop the very standards that could be adopted now. A comprehensive zoning amendment that addresses these concerns directly has already been prepared and is being provided for council's consideration. It keeps data centers a conditional use in the industrial districts, as the current version does, but adds the objective enforceable requirements the current version leaves out. Setbacks from homes, schools, and parks, noise screening and landscape buffers, underground utilities where practicable, water and stormwater disclosures, lighting controls, emergency response coordination, city inspection rights, and site maintenance obligations if a facility ever closes. These are the answers residents have been asking for, applied permanently to every future project rather than a promise to study them later. If council adopts standards like these, a long moratorium loses its purpose. What remains is a short procedural bridge. A zoning text amendment still has to go to planning commission and through a public hearing before it can take effect, and that takes a little time. A 3-month moratorium covers that period. It is enough to run the comprehensive amendment through the proper process, and it lets the citizens have the final say in November. Without the city committing to a year-long freeze, the election may render either redundant or contrary to the public will. So, rather than pass the two ordinances as presented, please consider the two versions that have been provided. A comprehensive zoning amendment that actually sets the standards, paired with a 3-month moratorium as a bridge while that amendment is finalized. The first path pauses everything for a year to answer these questions later. The second answers them now permanently and respects the vote to come. Thank you again for your time and for the difficult work you do on behalf of all of us. Respectfully, Brian Keller. Were there any other comments from council or letters to be read on this subject? All right, with none.
Once I get an abstract, I'll get it to the paper
Okay,
and see from there.
let us know.
Did we act on that ordinance?
Can't act on it, that's what Chelsea said. The first one?
At all?
Needs to be set for public hearing.
It feels awkward, doesn't it?
But I trust Chelsea.
Yeah. All right, would you read the caption for the second ordinance tonight?
First reading by caption only. An ordinance establishing a 12-month moratorium on the acceptance, review, processing, and approval of applications for the data center development within the municipal boundaries of the city of Defiance, Ohio, directing a study of regulations governing data center development and declaring an emergency.
Mrs. Sarrigan.
Thank you. For this ordinance, council requested a 12-month moratorium be drafted to allow the city time to get additional studies complete for what they need in our zoning code as it relates to data centers. This was also drafted as an emergency per the request of the council. That request happened on July 7th, 2026. That moratorium is before you. From my research, I do recommend a shorter time period than the 12 months. I think 3 to 6 months is appropriate. That would be my opinion and recommendation.
Mr. Corbett.
I'm just gonna grill you a little bit.
Yep.
Why are you recommending a shorter time frame? Have you seen case law where longer moratoriums are creating issues?
Yes, so when I was diving into this, I started looking at other cities under lawsuit in regards to data centers moratoriums. So compiling all the research I did, one of the issues with the longer moratorium was that, companies were saying, I've got vested rights in the land, or I've got a right to do with my land what I want to do. This is like a burden, it's delaying. Where if they were shorter, it seemed to be less issues with that. And it can always be extended, whereas
Thank you for
it's
saying that.
easier to extend than cut it. And also, I've said this before, Ms. Warnicki has put a lot of work and research in. She does not need, I don't want to speak for her, but I talked to her today. She doesn't need a year to implement those things that the public wants to see, that council wants to see.
But I happen to agree that in what you're saying, and that I think the 3-month time frame would coincide with the ballot measure. Speaking of which, do we need to instruct you to draft an ordinance so we
Yes.
can deal with that next week
That
and get it
needs
on the
addressed.
ballot?
Yes.
We need to do that before the night's over. But that would coincide with that, and then depending on how the vote goes, if the charter amendment passes, we know what we're dealing with. If it doesn't, and we think we need to extend it another 3 months to continue our work on zoning, we can always do that also, right?
Correct.
Right, Mr. Mast?
You touched on it as far as it can be extended, but what would that procedure look like? Is it a simple amendment or a request or?
Same, just request a moratorium for a chunk of time. It'd be
Oh, just an additional,
yeah, pretty quick redraft of that, and it would just be its own separate ordinance.
so we'd have to do that ahead of the scheduled
Yes,
expiration.
yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
That was my question, so thank you.
Mr. Engel?
Okay, the moratorium, I think since this is basically gonna go in front of the voters, I don't see where there's a reason to have a 6 months, 3 months. It's gonna be decided by our citizens of Defiance. I just think we shouldn't do that at this time. If we need to do it later, fine. But I think as of now, we've let it up to the voters, and what they decide, we've gotta go with.
Mrs. Crutch?
I think we should still have some kind of a moratorium because the public has spoken. They've asked for, us to do more research. I think we need to do what the public wants us to do and to at least do a 3-month or a 6-month, just so that we're doing what they asked us to do.
My comment regarding that is that I agree that we've listened at the public meetings. We heard the public concerns for a variety of issues that could arise with data centers if they're not regulated for the needs of our community. The 3rd Ward, which I represent, happens to be the ward where the controversy is centered. And 3rd Ward also is made up of quite a few business and industry constituents as well as residents. So in order to represent both of those factions of the 3rd Ward, I believe a 90-day moratorium is very much in line because it gives the voters what they want and protection right up until the referendum. The referendum negates the 12-month moratorium. Let the voters decide in November. We have a moratorium in place. Should we all accept that for 90 days? That would be my recommendation. I'm in full agreement with a shorter moratorium. It's a
Mr. Mast?
backup safety.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
It's
ahead.
okay. It's a backup safety for the city until the referendum is to the vote.
Mr. Mast?
I think the point is that we need to continue working on the zoning ordinances and respect the fact that there is a good possibility that the ballot initiative may not go to the positive and that we will have to enact some sort of zoning. So whether we do 3 months or 6 months, again, we can extend if necessary. If it doesn't go the right way, we can extend. If it does, the ban goes into effect, it'll be the 30 days after the election, at which point we'd be clear, but I think if we do need it in case we need to continue work on our zoning.
Thank you. Mr. Waxler?
That was pretty much what I was just gonna say, and then I would like to make a motion to just
move it to a 90-day.
Here, we have several more comments. Mr. Engel?
I'm just gonna say, after the vote's in November, can't we do a moratorium then? If we need more time to do things?
You can, ask for a moratorium, at any time.
After that time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mr. Hancock?
I feel that 6 months would be much better than 3 months. Because one, we know that Christmas is gonna be right around the corner and November's gonna be right around the corner. I don't know if we can assemble things that quick. The second thing I did have a question for Ms. Sarrigan. Section 5. I just wanted to point out the city council finds that as of the date of adoption of this ordinance, the city has no pending application for approval of the data center. That is correct, I understand. The next sentence, the ordinance is intended to operate respectively, and shall apply to applicants submitted on or after the effective date of this ordinance. I have a question about the next one, on how this, nothing is in the ordinance shall be construed to impair, terminate, or retroactively extinguish any property right or other right that is vested under applicable Ohio law before the effective date of this ordinance. Can you explain that for me, please?
Sure. So when I said I was compiling all my research, looking at other cities if they were being sued for having a moratorium or sued in some way, a property owner can make arguments in a lawsuit that they have basically the ability to use their land how they want to use it, and that's partially called vested rights. You have a right to use your land. So that's in this portion because we can't take that away. We can't say to anyone, if they are arguing they have a vested right in what to do with their land, this moratorium can't say that they can't. So that issue is in there, and it's more to protect the city from any lawsuit. It's a protection. That's why it's in there.
Okay.
The short version.
So it's not so much what you had previously about this, I own this land, I can do what I want, sort of thing, as we spoke before.
Mm-hmm.
This is more for the protection of the citizens of the city itself.
It's protection for the city for any sort of lawsuit.
Legality issue. Okay, thank you. But once again, 6 months is my recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Corbett?
Before I second the motion that we already have on the table, I want to just make a comment about section 4 because I do like this, because during this moratorium, no person or entity shall obtain or seek to obtain approval for a data center by characterizing the proposed facility as another use or by requesting a determination that the proposed facility is similar to or included within another use permitted but under the city's planning zone. So that basically freezes any applications that we won't accept them during this moratorium period.
Right. The moratorium, no application.
There was a lot of legal words just to
Going
get
to
to
be
that
addressed.
point. Thank you. I'll second the motion.
Well, before we entertain the motion in a second, we have questions from council and questions. I'm sure there'll be questions from the public.
Okay, now you know.
Mr. Mass?
Yeah, Mr. President, I just wanted to basically give my support for the 90-day moratorium because I think that will get us through the beginning of November, and we'll see the election results, and that'll give us enough time at that point to initiate a renewal if we need to continue to work beyond that end of November deadline for further zoning.
So, Mrs. Crutch?
If we decided to go with a 6-month moratorium, is it easier to extend a moratorium or is it easier to delete? Instead of, like we did the 90-day or 3 months, or we did a 6 months, which is easier to add or delete?
She said that before.
Yeah,
That's why
I know.
we're doing it.
I mean, I can't look into the future and
Okay.
and based off of, the history with these over the last couple of months, I know it's been complicated. But to me, you can always add more. I mean, we meet 3 weeks out of the month. This is drafted already, you know, I have it saved. It would just be you requesting to have it renewed and I bring it back before you.
Gotcha. I guess I'm just feeling for the public. I remember hearing they really wanted a 12-month moratorium, and I feel like if we cut it down to 90 days, we're kind of telling them we don't really care what they think, and I don't want them to think that, you know, we put a lot of research into this too, but we still need to do a lot more research to make sure that we have everything down to pinpoint of how we want that data center to protect our community and protect the people. So I personally would like a 6-month moratorium.
Any other comments from council?
My last
Mrs.
comment
Coughlin.
would be that I support the 90-day moratorium, the least amount possible, largely because it coincides with the referendum ballot in November, and also because there are those who believe and those who don't, but I don't think it's a good aura for our city to have a moratorium hanging out there longer than we need it for, because it does turn away and deter prospects for business. And a thriving city takes business as well as residents to make it all work and grow. And the longer that moratorium's out there, it sends a signal of gates are closed, don't even approach Defiance because they don't know what the heck they're doing. They're still making up their minds. So I think a 90-day moratorium is more fitting. It's in line with the referendum ballot in November. Easy to extend it if it should go further than that, but 3 months is a nice place to start.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from our guest this evening? Mrs. Root?
I'm Rebecca Root. I support at least a 6-month moratorium. 3 months would not get us to the referendum. It would get us to the vote, which does not go into effect as something that is enforceable until 30 days after that time. And then we will have our election results from a governor with wisdom coming down from the state level. And I think Ms. Crutch is 100% correct. Ms. Warnicki has worked extremely hard on our zoning, but this is vastly bigger than zoning. And I understand Ms. Coughlin's concerns, but Defiance is figuring out what it wants. And we should not feel hurried by that. Just because there is an Elliott Road site, and just because somebody's kind of interested in putting a data center there. I don't know why we would need to worry about shortening it under the threat of a lawsuit, because we have been regularly reassured that any developer interested in that land would never sue Defiance, Ohio, and that they would respect whatever it is that the voters are wanting. I think Ms. Crutch is spot on. The voters are hoping that you are hearing us, and a minimum of 6 months is wise and doable, and honestly kind of a concession from us as we try to hear you on your concerns around economic development.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Ms. Neese?
I agree with the fact that the 12th month was talked about. It seems that most of the people that showed up at the community auditorium, that's what they were expecting. And now a lot of people are saying 3 months. That does not protect the health and welfare of our citizens. 2 weeks ago, our citizens' health and welfare was priority number 1, and now it's economic development. Mm-hmm. That's priority number 1 tonight. That is not what what you people told our citizens, what you were focused on last week. It was health and welfare. That is a lot more complicated than economic development. It takes more than 3 months to figure out where this ball of wax is going. And also, like I tried to state earlier, but I was told my comments don't have place here because it wasn't questioned.
Just a moment, Mrs. Neese. Just in the interest of honesty, that's not at all what I said.
What did you tell me?
I said that we were taking questions on the first ordinance. The first ordinance was zoning. And if you had comments about the moratorium, you would be invited up like you are right now in order to voice your concerns or ask any questions. No one at any time has ever said that your opinion is not welcomed or invited here. In fact, quite the opposite. Every time that you've been here, I've invited you up. Any time that you've indicated that you have a question or a concern, I have called on you. Haven't I?
Yes, you have.
Yes, I have. In fact, I've given you the time and I've listened to you even outside of council meetings. And so to say that I told you that your opinion didn't matter is blatantly dishonest, and anyone who is listening to this meeting knows that that's not the case.
Okay, all right, I apologize that, I apologize for that. However, Mr. Keller was able to stand up here and read all his concerns, and he didn't ask questions.
He came up in order to comment on the first ordinance. We were taking, I'm sorry, your time. After the first ordinance, questions or comments about the zoning came up. Mr. Keller indeed did talk on that subject. I let you talk about zoning until you got off onto the moratorium subject and said that you can come back when we're discussing the moratorium, which is why you're here right now.
Okay, fine.
Mrs. Neese, may I make a comment?
Sure.
I'm the only one tonight that's mentioned economic development, so I also disagree that all of a sudden the top priority tonight is economic development. It is vitally important, but our special hearings that we've had, the special meetings have all been for the purpose of listening to the public's concerns, and they are diverse. There are many. They are the same concerns that we as council members share for the welfare of our city and its residents. So I will differ with you that economic development is taken a first priority. I'm simply stating that because my ward has probably more business population and industry than any other ward in the city, I will listen to both constituent parties as I should. And residents are vitally important. Business and industry is vitally important. And both of those together help our city become what it can be to keep people here living and working, and to attract others to come to the city and to do business here. So,
However, going back to the point that now we're talking about a 3-month, when initially, when people gathered 2 weeks ago, a fairly large crowd, and even a week ago, everyone was under the conception it was going to be a 12-month moratorium. However, now that is all changing tonight, and all that I'm hearing is how rapidly we need to start putting all of this in place. And I don't understand why it is so important to rapidly wrap this all up. And
Each
also,
one of the council members each took a turn explaining the rationalization for why they were saying it. The 12-month moratorium is what came before us this evening. It came before us, and all the council members are discussing it at this very time. Each one of them, I wrote down in my notes here as they were talking, they gave their opinion on what time and the reasons why. If you don't know the reasons why,
well, I do know,
listening to them explain why.
well, I did listen to them explain why. However, none of the explanations said anything about health and welfare. They said legalities, which I think most moratoriums I looked at are 12 months.
All right.
Finley had
Well, your time is up. Thank you very much. Were there any other questions or comments about this second ordinance on the moratorium? Mr. Hahn.
Ralph Hahn, 901 Wellhouse Street. I just want to say I agree 110% with Mr. Kutch's statements on the 6-month moratorium. It is a compromise. We were at 12 months. And I'm feeling a sense of urgency here from some of you folks to move this thing along very quickly for some reason. And that reason is going to be probably speculation at the breakfast tables downtown. So
let me clear up the reason for us wanting to move this along. we're trying to get this done, and we've been spending a considerable amount of time on it. And we want to get zoning in place so that we are protected and covered, because I believe that that's what everyone has been asking us to do. Now, I understand we're changing this, the moratorium, maybe changing the terms on it, but a lot has happened since I initially called this on July 7th. Now we have a ballot initiative in front of us that could do all the work for us, and we won't have to worry about it at all. So when you're saying, I don't like that we're saying, you know, we're trying to speed this through, like we're trying to get it under the rug before anybody sees anything. We're not. We're trying to get the protections in place in a timely manner. I don't know if you know this, but government is unusually cumbersome. And
I understand everyone here has a job to do. I understand that. Take your time and do it right. And the community is what's important here. And you need to listen to the community. Thank you.
I think we are listening, Ralph, and all we did was move it 3 months is what's on the table. We can extend it at any time. So everybody's over there going, you know, 3 months, we're not locked on 3 months, okay? We can change it. You've heard that.
I heard that.
Okay, thank you.
I heard that.
And 3 months does get us through the election, because it'll take a week to amend it anyways. So by the time it comes back, it's gonna be in September, October, November. 90 days, you're already at December. And at that point, if the ballot initiative works out in the positive, then we can not worry about it. And if it works out to the negative, then we can extend that if we feel necessary at that time.
What do you call a positive and a negative?
Yes or no vote. Well, no.
Charter amendment passes, is it
Yeah,
positive?
just a yes or no.
Okay.
But that,
So if it's a no vote, it's a positive?
No,
That's not
the
what he said.
positive is yes. The negative is no.
but even at that, Ralph, even at that, if it doesn't pass, that just limits it to 25 megawatts or less, right? But it doesn't mean,
Come back up and speak.
it doesn't mean there won't be a data center here. It just means it'll be a smaller version of it, which still requires zoning work, because you still have to go through the same protections. And what we're trying to do is get this zoning protection in place. That's the most important thing we can do right now. And I know Ms. Neese says we could probably study this for 10 years and never outguess everything, because by the time we put something in place, technology changes that fast. I get that. We'll have to amend it to keep up with it, but we have a good starting point that's been presented to us by Ms. Roop and other people on what we should see for noise and for electric use and closed loop systems, and I could go on and on and on about what needs to be in that zoning code specifically to protect our community, that if one does show up, we have what we need to make sure it is a good partner for Defiance. So irregardless of the charter amendment, pass or fail, we still need to get this zoning in place as quickly as possible. We have a handle on what we can do. And I know that's not gonna satisfy Mrs. Neese, because she thinks that we'll never get there. And that's kind of true, because you can't keep up with this. Technology goes so fast now that you just have to keep adapting as it comes. Data centers of today, next year it'll be some other newfangled business that somebody comes up with. But we need to get this done. The zoning is the most important part of this. The moratorium is important, but if we get it to the vote, and if it wins, if your charter amendment wins and it goes on there, then we still need to do that zoning. And if we haven't got it in place by then, we can extend this moratorium and finish doing the zoning work to get where we need to be. You know, so I hear you, but I know what we need to do here to protect Defiance, and it's in the zoning code.
And these public hearings,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
the public hearings, how much public input is going to be weighed?
Well, you're gonna get 30 days for the first one, and then you'll get 30 days again when we come up with whatever we think we need for a zoning code. We have to have another hearing. We have to give 30-day notice, and you'll be right back in.
What I'm asking is, does the community have any input in that? in
After we
those
put-
line items?
After we put those line items together to begin with, so there's a document for you to review, you'll have a 30-day notice, and then you'll come back and you'll say, we need this, you need to add this, you need to add this, and then we can address it then. Maybe we forgot something, maybe we didn't think through all of it. I get that. We have a community full of intelligent people that are gonna help us get that done. But we have to have something to start with, to start the process. And if we don't ever get the zoning code in effect, the moratoriums can't go on forever. If we don't get it done, sooner or later, we will be exposed.
That's why I said, don't rush it.
You have to move along, though. You can't just sit on your hands, Ralph.
I didn't say that.
Well,
And I'm
that's
not
what I'm
implying
hearing.
that. I'm not implying that. I'm just saying, I'm looking at Archibald had a 3-month moratorium in place, and they just extended it another 3 months.
Because they weren't ready. And we will probably do the same thing if we think we need to, but we might have what we need, and you might be happy when you see it. We don't know that. We gotta do it. We gotta do the work. You gotta let us do the work.
I understand that, and I said that earlier. We all have a job to do, and you need to do that.
Well, thank you very
And
much.
you're gonna ring the bell on me, aren't
It's
you?
just about. Were there any other questions or comments? Mrs. Root?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to that ballot initiative. My name is Rebecca Root. I didn't write the ballot initiative, I didn't collect signatures for it, but I'm very familiar with it. And it would not ban data centers entirely. I think sometimes there's confusion around that. The language is very specific, that anything over 25 megawatts would not be allowed within city limits, but anything under that, that is important because there are lots of little businesses that need little data centers, and we wouldn't want to limit that economic opportunity. So that is what voters will be voting on. They're not banning all data centers forever. And so when Mr. Keller was worried that people might not know, I'm also worried they might not know, and they should. But I also believe that a 6-month moratorium is more appropriate, that the residents are expecting that, and in part because Ms. Saragan put together an incredible piece of legislation with a lot of bullet points far beyond zoning. Things like what are our fire and emergency services going to be like, and lots of other study. We have a housing crisis in Defiance. How would we deal with that if we had 200 construction workers descend upon us? We have so many more offices to consider, not just Ms. Warnicki's. I think another 90 days on top of an initial 90 days, securing that tonight is reasonable. I don't think we should wait to extend it and hope that that process will be smooth and we can do it right now.
Thank you. Mrs. Neese?
Once again, I would like the moratorium to start after the vote, not before the vote. I think that there's a huge difference between a moratorium and that vote. And it seems like city council, some people are saying, well, it's the same thing. It is not. A moratorium and a vote on whether or not we want a data center, 2 separate issues, 2 separate parameters, 2 separate flows of thoughts are gonna come into it. We at least need 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you. And we had a motion. The motion was for
3 months.
3 months, for 90 days. We had a second on the motion to amend the ordinance in front of us so that the moratorium was for 90 days. All right? So we have a motion and a second.
Who's the second, Corbett?
I was the second.
I seconded it.
Oh, I thought I seconded it. All right, I will defer.
Mr. Engel?
No.
This is for 60 days, correct?
For 90 days.
90 days. So much discussion. Mr. Waxler?
Yes.
Mr. Mass?
No.
Mrs. Crutch?
No.
Mr. Hancock?
No.
Ms. Kaufman?
No.
And Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion for 6.
And I need to I'd like to, the motion at hand was a 90-day moratorium.
Correct.
I intended to vote yes. I want that on the record. Thinking back to earlier ordinances. Apologies.
So I have 4 no's,
4 noes, 3 yeses.
so this,
Does not pass. Mrs. Crutch,
I'd like to make a motion that we make it a 6-month moratorium.
6-month moratorium.
Second.
Second, Mr. Hancock.
Mr. Waxler,
Yes.
Mr. Mass,
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch,
Yes.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Mr. Corbett,
Yes.
Ms. Kaufman,
No.
and Mr. Engel.
No.
That motion passed.
Yeah, we have 5 yeses, 2 nos, and so that motion passed to amend this ordinance to be a 6-month moratorium ordinance. There we go. There are more ordinances even
I
to our
know.
third one.
Third reading by caption only. An ordinance directing the city administrator to apply for a grant from the Ohio Public Works Commission to assist with the replacement of pavement along Sherwood Drive and declare an emergency.
Mr. Mack.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Finally, something I hope we can all agree on: paving streets, getting more streets paved in Defiance.
Yes.
So, if council remembers correctly, we've discussed paving over the course of last year. The administration proposed we work on engineering work for Sherwood Drive. We're now asking you to allow us to apply for an OPWC grant in the amount of $400,000 so that we can work to get the repaving project going.
All right, do we have any questions for Mr. Mack? Mr. Mast.
What section of Sherwood would this be, just up to?
This will be Jefferson Avenue to Rosewood.
Mr. Hancock?
I was just gonna say, will that be done this year?
No.
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Waxler?
No further questions, most suspending call.
If we have no other questions, we have a motion to
No,
suspend and
Josh
call.
has another question.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mast.
Oh, that-
Ms. Kaufman,
Yes.
Mr. Waxler,
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch,
Yes.
Mr. Corbett,
Yes.
Mr. Mass,
Yes.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
and Mr. Hancock.
Yes.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Engel.
Second.
Second, Mr. Corbett.
Mrs. Crutch,
Yes.
Mr. Mass,
Yes.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Corbett,
Yes.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Mr. Waxler,
Yes.
and Ms. Kaufman.
Yes.
Right. With that, this ordinance is adopted.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance accepting annexation of 6.972 acres of land located in Richland Township, Defiance County, Ohio, RC 70904.
Mrs. Saragin.
Thank you. This was a petition for an annexation. It was filed with the Defiance County Commissioners for 6.972 acres in Richland Township. The city adopted a resolution for services in April of 2026. The Commissioners then approved the annexation in May 2026. The city engineer received that on May 27th, 2026. So the city has between the 61st day and the 120th day after delivery to pass an ordinance accepting or rejecting the annexation petition. And if no action is taken by that 120th day, the petition is considered rejected. That 120th day is on September 23rd, 2026.
Do we have any questions for Mrs. Saragin?
No further questions, motion to suspend and call.
Motion to suspend and call. Second. Second, Mr. Mast.
Mr. Corbett,
Yes.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Ms. Kaufman,
Yes.
Mr. Mass,
Yes.
Mr. Waxler,
Yes.
and Mrs. Crutch.
Yes.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Mast.
Second.
Second, Mr. Engel.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Mass,
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch,
Yes.
Ms. Kaufman,
Yes.
Mr. Corbett,
Yes.
and Mr. Waxler.
Yes.
With that, this ordinance is also adopted.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance vacating the right-of-ways located directly north of 330, 332, 334, and 338 at Danford Street and the follows in the Adams addition, City of Defiance, Defiance Township, Defiance County, Ohio.
Mr. Mack.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Clerk, do you have the map along with it? It's easier to just show you where it's at.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Planning Commission voted unanimously to vacate this paper alley. We would request your approval as the next stage in this process. There are no utilities listed in it. Currently, it has to be mowed because it is a right-of-way of ours. We don't mow it as well as we should all of the time. That's one of the reasons I know it's back there, because I get complaint calls and I go make sure the crews actually get it taken care of. So we would ask that this be vacated as part of the adjoining property. So.
Mr. Hancock.
As we vacate, will where the yellow highlight is, will that go to the parcels that are below them, I guess, on the screen? Will that be split on that parcel, is my
I can't
question.
remember if it's split with the bottom ones or the top one there.
Will they, so the top is the yellow?
No, there's another parcel.
You don't know if it's gonna go to this parcel or these three parcels.
Yes, that's my question.
So I'm not, I apologize, I don't remember which one it's split into.
Okay.
Mr. Mast?
Is there a 3 reading requirement on this ballot?
The annexation,
Or the vacation?
No, the vacation.
vacation.
Yes,
Yes.
I apologize for that.
So we'll have a clear
Yeah.
answer for you the next reading.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to let this matter lie.
We have a motion to let lie. Second, Mr. Corbett. All in favor of letting this issue lie till we reconvene, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we will let this issue lie.
Before you go to the citizen, ask for that petition thing before we forget.
All right.
I wanna do that now.
Yes.
I believe we need to ask Ms. Harrigan to draft an ordinance to place our ballot initiative on the ballot and declare it an emergency when we do it, so we can get it filed in a timely manner.
So we have a motion for the ballot initiative to be placed
On the ballot.
on the ballot. Oh, I was gonna say that, it's a little redundant. Second, Mr. Engel.
Ms. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Waxler?
Yes.
Ms. Crutch?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mr. Mast?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
And Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
All right. It is passed.
Do we also need, Ms. Theriga, do we need to, or can we at this point request additional zoning ordinances from the planning commission to get that ball
Yes.
rolling?
So if you want that ball rolling, you should, city council may initiate a text or zoning amendment by recommendation or referral to the planning commission. So yes, you can make a recommendation for them to begin looking into those issues.
I would like to request that they begin the process of strengthening the zoning for data centers.
Second that motion.
Would you like me to roll call?
Please do.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Waxler?
Yes.
Mr. Mast?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Ms. Kaufman?
Yes.
And Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
All right. Then it will be done. Thank you. But before we adjourn for the evening, we have time for citizens' concerns or comments. After all the discussion this evening, were there any citizens who would like to come up and have a question or concern in addition to the issues that were discussed this evening? All right, with no such hand raised, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, sir.
Motion to adjourn. Second, Mr. Hancock. All those in favor of adjourning for this evening, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, we are adjourned for tonight.